Tarzan trying to get in with the bandage shots, but he's going to be stunned up with a shield of Daybreak. Tries to flash the Zenith Blade, but can't escape it. First blood to LNG, and they're looking for more. Fizz has no way out. He's put in the dirt by Zika. The guy back in though with the Between Worlds, and now Zika is on the wrong side of dodge. He still gets one with the lamppost. Still chasing him forward. Out towards the top side, Xiahu who's being fought off by Zika. Kill for Reed, he gets one. The shutdown, but Zika starts to collapse. Away Between Worlds though. Zika continues to dive forward and light is extinguished. Are you not entertained? This is the LPL versus the LPL, and I'm ready for 3 more.
We definitely are. Hopefully we get 5 games of this. But I want to look at this game where LNG comes out on top, and there is a theme here. It is either a master class or a disaster class in economics, depending on the team you are. And it starts from the draft. The trade-off for meme, I could very well be it, because it starts with the Yone and the Aurora, right? The trade.
Okay.
That's the first one. So where do we land there?
I mean, I think as we pull up like the full look at the game, I think the big thing is LNG on blue side decide, okay, we are going to end up doing this Yone Aurora trade, right? And when that happens, you have Weibo, who have pulled out a few of these Aurora comps before, and Scout on Yone, a champion that he is super comfortable on. And I mean, looking at, like, first of all, you can see the dip in the gold graph where Weibo ends up taking over right here. But the big thing I do want to point out with what happened in this early game is that LNG were actually able to get onto early objectives a lot more quickly. And then they were also able in a lot of these team fights to really set up for GALA to be able to do damage on this Ezreal. Was not the cleanest game. One of my friends about Weibo last year said they snatched victory from the jaws of defeat, their own jaws. Well, and I feel like that applies to LNG in this game.
It's so much more painful because they take a big gamble, right? They give an insanely strong top side.
Yep.
And it actually ends up working out. Like, I think they make a couple of big early game mistakes that set them far behind. But then they get the team fight that you draft the comp for. You're basically in a position to win the game. And they still lose!
Yeah, we were in the room watching the game with the OTP casters, and okay, you speak a little bit of French, but one of them said, 15 minutes de split push pour cette merde.
Yeah.
What does that relate to in terms of the trade deal?
So I don't speak French.
He said 15 minutes of split push for this BS.
Expletive
This is
deleted.
referring to Weibo getting Baron eventually and getting back in this game, chat.
It was. I mean, do we have the actual Baron play? Because I do think it was good for Weibo to actually pull this off.
Yeah.
I do see a lot of similarities with the way that actually FlyQuest tried to counter one of these hard engage comps, where they wait until they have their item power spikes, and then they force something. And it was actually really tense because they couldn't burst the Baron down in time, so it's smart for them to peel off, and they're actually able to sync up their ultimates and burst out the Sejuani before this fight. So this actual instance, I think, was very well played by Weibo.
Yeah, and I also think you can see the power in this Weibo team composition right here. The R4 Amumu and the R5 Renata coming through in the draft, it actually makes it so difficult for LNG to take 5v5 fights. That's why they should have been setting up the split push, but then they should have leveraged that power on the map and not ended up in this situation.
They were like, nah, let's throw it away.
And I can't believe I'm saying this, but I feel like the experiment from Weibo to give up the Yone and trade it for Aura, that's valid. The main issue is we need to get Ezreal for either of these two teams, because both Light and GALA have had insane games this entire tournament.
Yeah, I think that was a win for the side of LNG in the trade offer, but every second counts, and thanks to the reliable Cisco network, LNG make the offer of 1 Nexus turret for the Mountain Soul and eventually the game. So yeah, their gambit paid off the most, I guess.
This was weird to me. As you can see,
Weibo
trying to trade a neck, because their eyes got huge when they saw that they have Baron and that it wasn't getting perfectly defended. So right here, there is a timer here with Drake coming up, Mountain Soul, in about 15 seconds, but they think they can actually win on this push, and they absolutely can't. Tarzan's at half health, and more importantly, they don't have like a good way of defending their backline here from the Yone, because no one can push forward. There's the protection of the Nexus turrets, and then Jax just gets to go to town.
The amount of cooldowns absorbed there by Zika was like absolutely nuts. I think it was 3 ultimates, able to draw full attention, which bought the space that Scout needed. And Weibo could have just taken the bot side inhibitor, got their resets in, got the Drake, and they would have been fine.
They would have
could
been
have.
fine. It would have been a 2-0. Like, bro.
Classic Weibros.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
It is true. To be fair, I was impressed because sometimes when you watch them in the LPL, when something is not going the way it should, right, they will double down, they will triple down, they will quadruple down. They actually pulled this game back. I will say, for me, it is blasphemous from LNG to have a perfect setup with the Yone in the side lane and the Jax, and to give up that advantage as they did. I will say that.
Sure.
But I don't know. Now I think either can win this series.
Absolutely. I mean, it turns into a best of 3.
Yeah.
I will say, even though we can look at those really big moments with the Baron fight and the Nexus fight, there were big moments in the early game, too, that could have just made it a stomp either way. Weibo losing the early skirmishes, but then also LNG not stacking Drakes early when their top side is at their strongest point, to me, early on in the game. So the fact that it got that long was a lot of punches and counter punches from both teams.
It's true.
Yeah, and they had the setup with the, like LNG did with the 6 grubs, and like they had this insane split push power, right? And another thing I'm looking at from both of these teams, because I think it's still going to depend heavily on draft and like what they want to do with that draft. I think we've still seen exactly who these teams are, where Weibo, no, yes, the in-hit trade, not good. But I do think they were a smarter team in forcing LNG to kind of respond to them. And then LNG, not always the best at choosing their fight.
Yeah, it feels like a 5-gamer to me. I wonder if Medic is sweating already.
It's pretty damn warm in here, Shox, so yes, I am sweating. It could also be cold, and I would also be sweating because I'm just quite a sweaty man. Vedius, Kobe, are you guys sweating?
No, actually, I'm not even remotely. If my body loses any more water, I might die. Anyway, let's get into the game. It's the 3rd game of Weibo versus LNG. I think, maybe this is a hot take, but I think that overall Weibo have played the team fights better, and LNG have played the map better. Maybe actually, in hindsight, it's a very lukewarm take.
Yeah, it's about as cold as you feel right now, Vedi.
That's fair,
no
that's
sweat.
fair. But I think Weibo should stick to their strategy of continuing to draft towards team fights. I think that they've showcased a propensity to finding success in the 5 versus 5. I think that when it comes to the objective, they found good angles multiple times, and if it weren't for that overstep at the Nexus, then we could be looking at a match point situation here. So I think that it's on LNG to find a better way to convert those early game leads into something more substantial in the mid game.
And here we are in the Champion Select, brought to you by Omen and HyperX.
We've also had pretty big differences in the level 1s and the lane swaps coming out.
True.
For both of the games, actually, on opposite sides. So we'll keep our eye on the level 1s, on those lane swaps. Not going to get the Yone Aurora trade this time around. Right back to business as usual here.
There we are, Rumble and Nico banned away as well, alongside the Silas by Weibo.
So
this is exactly where they went in game 1.
Skarner ban, though, this time around.
Skarner ban from LNG does make sense. It is Xiahu's 105th world game. He's passing Death for 2nd place, obviously only behind FLICKR, as we see the Ashe locked in here for Weibo.
Okay, so last time, in game number 1, when they picked the Ashe, I got super excited for the possibility of a Tarzan Nidalee.
Yes,
and this time, they don't already have a jungle champ. So
we're bringing the excitement back.
So we're bringing it back, baby.
The Nocturne going to be the instant lock-in for Weiwei. Will we see the Orianna paired alongside it? No, it's actually going to be...
this is what LNG went for in game 1,
exactly.
right? They didn't want the Orianna, instead they wanted
They're doing a bit of a salty run back here. With the Skarner being removed, they're saying you're now losing one of your frontline components. We believe in our ability to gain access onto the backline, but the idea is the same. A lot of dive, a lot of backline threat, potential picks on the side lane. As Weibo now looking to grab Gnar for themselves.
Oh.
Just Gnar and a jungler, or do you look towards the Orianna, which we saw from Xiahu in game 1?
Well, remember in game 1, we saw the Renekton prioritized from LNG. By early rotating the Gnar for Breathe, you're kind of dissuading the Renekton pick, perhaps forcing LNG onto something different. But also in the current meta, I feel like there are very few things that will shut the Gnar down, especially when you think of typical counter picks you can just lane swap out of.
But you could pick something that's like very strong in the 1v1 because you already have the Nocturne and Ahri, like a pick-oriented champion on the side of
like
LNG.
A Camille, for example.
Yeah, so...
There's definitely the argument that Breathe got like 3 kills early in that game and was just unkillable, right? So if you can put him behind, or at least not have him as massively ahead as he was in game 1, you can shut him down a little bit on the side lane. Alongside that, Gnar, Braum locked in for Weibo, so they're leaving mid and leaving jungle for their second rotation. Crisp on Braum, very aggressive as we've seen him be so often, doesn't have the same mobility as something like the Rakan, which means if he does get caught out in the enemy jungle where he likes to be, he's much more likely to die on this Braum.
Okay, so will be the Jax. I mean, the Jax was so effective last game. The Counter-Strike plus the Zhonya stasis in team fights just buys you so much time and so much space. Of course, it was an accelerated Jax from the very beginning of the game. The lane swap really benefiting, and the opening of the game really benefiting in last time around. So we'll see if they can manufacture that sort of lead for the Jax this time around again and have a similar influence.
Xiahu's LeBlanc will be banned away. Weibo, they should consider banning supports now, and Rakan makes a lot of sense. The question is, do they consider Rel to be a problem? I mean, so far we've seen things like Rel left up. I'm debating if maybe they want, well, no, I was thinking about Poppy, but then like usually the Weibo side would prefer to have the Poppy. The brand ban away. Concerned about some potential AP junglers. Do you even like Nidalee into the composition that you see right now?
Not anymore, especially because Weibo have also really, like you're saying, lean more towards teams fights. And that's why like a ban like the brand does make a lot more sense, because that has been a very successful champion format as well, something that's much better for the team fights. Nidalee, of course, not so much for those team fights.
That's the approach. Okay, so they're just going to take GALA off of Ezreal. I mean, I think it makes sense when we think about the LPL Ezreals so far at this tournament. They've been
pretty good,
rather effective.
And if we just think about last game,
yep.
GALA had so much damage.
But then GALA just gets his Kai'Sa.
Yes, he does.
It's such a strong pick, something synonymous with him, both in the LPL and internationally.
I mean, already so successful this Worlds on it, and when you have some good dive already showing, I'm starting to get worried for Weibo.
I mean, to round out the LNG comp, you're just looking for more dive to follow that up. Leona, but Aurel. If they wanted a little bit more lockdown, they could consider the Nautilus. They're Orianna, what we saw in game 1, you talked about it earlier, Medic. The problem with Orianna is that once that flash is gone, you're very susceptible to ganks. Weibo going with the Freljord theme and looking to round out their composition with a bit of engage. I was thinking they could run back the Amumu.
Again, very similar compositions here for Weibo. Setting up a solid team fight, very strong front line, shifting to the Maokai for the AoE on the ultimate. Very wide range here. That plus a Braum, you can really cover a lot of these jungle corridors. And even the Baron corridor, like we saw last time around, them successfully trying to like funnel LNG into small areas. But LNG, once again, look to split the map. They've got some good dive for themselves. GALA on his signature Kai'Sa here, and backed up with an Alistar. That lane is not strong early.
Yeah, that's the lane swap lane, if I've ever seen one. Get the hell out of there. Leave Zika to deal with Light and Crisp, and just try and get yourself some gold on the other side of the map, and some levels as well for the Alistar. Level 1, basically not a champion, as useful as a cow just standing out in a field. Level 2 becomes more of a bull that, you know, you have to try and avoid, try and dodge away from. But overall, these compositions, kind of what we have expected to see from these teams. LNG with a lot of dive. Zika again on the Jax had a great game 2 on it. Weibo, a little bit more team fight threat, although I will say their composition seems to lack a bit of damage. Ashe doesn't have the highest damage output.
Honestly, that was my instinct too, Medic. I think the advantage I had in game 1 was because of how far ahead Breathe got. He was able to offer a lot of value still in the team fights. But once that initial burst is gone, your consistent damage becomes very dependent on Light. I will say that Tarzan provides a lot more single target lockdown this time around. But I feel like LNG just have so many options with their composition. Like, true, they could dive, but Kai'Sa and Ahri actually provide great poke. They have a lot of mobility, so they can just kind of keep you distracted around an objective while the Jax provides pressure on the side lane. But they also have an easy ability to play the 1-3-1. Like, I feel like that LNG's composition just is very well-rounded. And so I quite like what they're bringing here in game 3.
I like the look of Weibo's side too, though. I mean, Gnar, Trinity Force is like the go-to now as well. So I feel like you're kind of, very well-rounded here too, since you've got Trinity Force Gnar. Orianna scales super nicely and gives that bit of defense along with the offense. And Light here with the engage options on Ashe. Again, so much has been determined by the openings of these games, though, and the lane swaps giving those advantage, setting them up for success. Now we're seeing the evolution of that. Like, all right, we're going to stack a defense here if you do come for the invade.
You love a Jat stat, don't you? You work with Jat a lot. Do you want a fun Jat stat between these two teams?
I do see them a lot. I don't know if I love them.
Okay, well, Betty loves a Medi stat, so it's fine. These two teams have played up against each other 3 times in the last 2 months, as we see Tarzan. Oh, flash charm, flash away. Tarzan will escape. So yeah, 3 series against each other in the last 2 months. Guess how many game 3s Weibo have won out of those 3 series? Obviously not including this one.
I'm gonna say all of them?
No, 0.
Oh, it was one of the
LNG win every game 3 between the 2 teams. Our featured matchup is Xiahu and Scout in the mid lane. Scout's already burned his flash, and LNG have looked for the invade on the top side. Scout was back across towards the red. Weibo have a man advantage right now as Tarzan can look for the engage. Zika on the wrong side of the wall. Flash away from Hung, but the flash chase. They're going to get concussive blows on him. Just need one more auto. Light will get it. Hung is left to his lonesome, and Weibo strike burst.
That was so bad for LNG. They started out by investing mid lane flash for jungler flash, and then wrapping around, and the extra ward here giving the vision. Weibo are the ones with Braum. Like, Braum is so insane in level 1 fights, the passive, the Q, and Weibo here, they're the ones coming out in game number 3 with a massive advantage. Wait, it's not done yet, Betty, look!
Zika's on the flank, has that flash. Tarzan hits level 2, Hung on his way to join the fight, but doesn't have a flash, and only has that pulverize. Counter strike, gonna go down, and Zika locks up Chris. Tarzan trying to get the Bramble smash away. Zika flashes forward. Twisted advance will get the slow onto Zika. Concussive blows is what's gonna get the stun. Breathe and Xiahu walking down towards the bottom side of the charm. It's gonna land onto Tarzan, and he's down too. LNG now the ones on top.
What is going on? The top laners didn't even go to bot lane. They stayed mid. Breathe level 1, Zika level 1. The only level 2 in that whole exchange was Scout. He set up the charm. LNG find 2 kills in exchange.
No champions in the bottom lane until 2.5 minutes now when the top laners finally go down there. Both teams sticking with the play on top side. And you got to say, well, looking at the results, it was good from LNG because they were able to stick with it. Zika's here closing off the escape from Weibo. They did not expect the full commitment. As you see in the replay, yeah, the bottom lane minions are all just fighting each other down there. Well, it's a brawl on the continued and extended level 1. Scout comes through, he hits the charm. Tarzan goes down, he had no flash, and we were talking in Champ Select. The first time around, the Jacks got a really big boost. All right, well, now they just got 2 more kills.
Yeah.
Zika
And
again should be a monster.
You doubted Scout flashing to get Tarzan's flash out, but he had thought 3 minutes ahead as the wall-up goes down. Oh, Zika might just die in the 1v1. The clank comes in from Tarzan. Zika trying to get out. Weiwei here as well with the Dustbringer, but there's the slope from the Boomerang, and I'm not sure Zika can escape this precarious situation. Counter-Strike will buy him enough time to get to the safety of his tower.
Counter-Strike is a godsend. I guess the lesson learned here is always stick with the play.
Yep.
Continue the play.
Commit.
So, Zika doesn't have teleport, but it's not going to matter too much. I mean, honestly, the wave getting pushed in now, he can run straight back from base and avoided death right there. Just barely, just had the range. Gets away from the possible punish as Tarzan wanted to take advantage of the minion wave.
So, let's take stock.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because a lot has happened. The bad news for LNG is that their bot lane is in the 2v2 that they wanted to avoid. They're a little bit behind in farm, and they're quite behind in gold. On top of that, there's a lot of pressure being put on by Xiahu in the mid lane because the matchup is still very favorable to Orianna, but Scout is not that far, he's not in too much of a deficit.
Yeah.
The good news for LNG is their Jax is very strong. As you already said, the acceleration of being able to get those early kills is going to get him closer to that Trinity Force spike, and he's only going to get to that monster stage that much quicker. All in all, the game is still in a relatively even state.
Agreed.
It's just a matter of, in terms of the matchups, I think Weibo is happier to find themselves in standard lane.
And it's funny because Breathe was the one who got the last hit on the original first blood hit too. So he also got the injection of gold, and now he's getting like the ping pong of the minion wave back towards him. So will be really fun to keep track of this one, as we're going to stick with our flip-flopped Australian lanes.
They call them thongs out there, don't they? Flip-flops in Australia. LNG.
We got to call up our Australian now. Where's Spawn?
Flip-flop lanes. Yeah, we should have got like Spawn or Atlas on the desk instead. Weibo here. Okay, as you say, with these flip-flop lanes, there is a slight lead for Light, but it's 5 CS or so, nothing too monumental. Breathe getting that first blood and meant that the lead that Zika could have developed in the bottom side of the map hasn't been as substantial as it could have. But Zika is looking towards the mid lane here. Xiahu working his way back, just wandering through that lane. Be back here in time. Grub's up. It looks like LNG trying to bring everyone to a potential fight around that first neutral objective.
The Grub's priority is something we've seen a lot in this series. Weibo has a tendency to try and fight, but it does look like they're going to concede. The pings are coming down onto the Dragon as Breathe gets the push and Tarzan makes his way towards it.
And this ward right here that they have in that little curved brush in the river gives you so much confidence, Not only do they have a good state to set it up, but they also have vision control of the only surprise brush there, and it will just be the agreement as Weibo don't even try and contest, move down to collect their Dragon instead.
I don't think either team will be too upset with that sequence.
Exactly, because again, kind of the theme of the series has been Weibo investing a lot in champ select in these team fight setups. And so if you get your early Dragons, you want to get some way to kind of force LNG into those fights where they come at you from head on, and you get to use the sturdy power of your front line to its full extent.
A nice push on the top side of the map for Weibo. Zika going to be able to catch this wave as we find ourselves in a timid early game.
Yeah, we had 3 minutes, 3 kills, and now
You
nothing's
call
happened,
that
Betty.
level 1 timid?
Yeah,
What
but
the?
I mean that was chaotic. But now we've had moments of tranquility, peace, as minions perish on the rift. Gold is ransacked from their corpses. First items are the priority for both these teams. Grub spawning in about 3 minutes' time, and ultimately both these teams are going to prioritize farming, setting themselves up nicely for that neutral objective spawning soon. In the previous game, LNG swapped their bottom lane around the map incredibly efficiently, securing so many early objectives and having so much control. This time around, the Ashe and the Braum are the terrifying duo to be afraid of. And as Weibo find themselves in the bottom side of the map, once they get that push, don't be surprised to see them return to this top side ready to contest Grubs.
LNG actually bringing GALA and Hung all the way up towards his top
arrow?
side. The arrow's coming down, hits onto Weiwei. Nature's Grasp as well from Tarzan. Breeze flashes away from LNG. No one tanking up the tower as of yet. Chris flashes in. They're looking for more. Twisted advance. Paranoia on the back line, but the shockwave is absolutely massive. Xiahu finds 4. Wei walking away wounded, but I don't think there's another way for him to go home apart from in a body bag. Xiahu finds 2.
Weibo defending the play, and they're going to take such a huge lead with all of this extra gold. I mean, the shockwaves from Xiahu was massive, and they will reap the rewards. Now they can control the rest of the map. Light even got paid off of it, taking out the turret plate here and landing his Ashe arrow from downtown.
A phenomenal read from Weibo. 4 members were on the top side of the map, ready to react to that dive. The communication was so clear, and I have to wonder what LNG saw on the map to make them feel confident enough to make that play happen. They did have the stacked wave. I'm going to keep my eyes on the minimap. They had no deep vision invested. They see Tarzan now. They try to call the playoff, but Breathe setting it up. The Ashe arrow onto the Nocturne. They get the flash out from GALA. And then watch this commitment here from Chris. Flashes in, connects the slow. Nocturne comes in, and then Xiahu finds them all with a phenomenal shockwave.
Oh, juicy. GALA was just on the edge of it too, on the outside. Even he got pulled in. And then they chased down the extra kills here. Plus they got a bunch of turret plate money in the aftermath. If you're the team that has...
Some reactions are not like the others.
I like the dead stare.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the extra gold here, plus the early dragon, means that the path forward for Weibo should be pretty straightforward, since they have the goal to be able to win the team fight, the composition to be able to do it, and with the Dragon already in their favor, the ability to try and like draw LNG over towards them. LNG, of course, here though, with this Nocturne and these solo laners, going to try and make these sideline plays. GALA was massive in the previous game. He is on another one of his huge picks, possibly the most signature in the Kai'Sa, and he's going to have to do a lot of work this game.
What a shockwave it was. And Xiahu, the 6th highest killed. Well, no, he's the player with the 6th highest kills of anyone at Worlds, just passing past Showmaker. Has been here so many times. Last year, the first time, obviously, made it past the quarterfinals after leaving RNG, a 3-time MSI champion with RNG as well, but never really been able to translate that to the world stage, so often denied at quarterfinals. Now with Weibo looking to make it back to at least the semifinals. And LNG currently backs against the ropes, at least in this game. And they would be in the series as well. They would fall down to 2-1. Trying to find a bit of redemption for last year, where they did fall out in the quarterfinals to T1.
What I love about Weibo is how over the last 2 years, they just continue to surprise in terms of expectations. Yep. They had to go 2-2 in the Swiss stage to be able to qualify. There was skepticism around how they were going to perform. And now here they are in the first quarterfinal of Worlds 2024 against an opponent that they faced many times before this year. And it's an incredibly competitive series. You never really know what level you're going to get from Weibo. And here in Game 3, so far, they're looking good.
I mean, it continues to go that way. Coming into the series, they were 8-8 on the year. Now they're 9-9, splitting games even in this individual series. But back to the match at hand here, it is kind of on LNG to open up an area where they can actually create one of these plays, and they're actually going to jump on the Dragon themselves. I think it should be a response from Weibo, even though you see Tarzan walking from Fountain right now.
Miles away as well.
LNG should be able to just burn it down and smite it easy.
They will get the Drake. LNG secure it. Weiwei with the smite. Light and Crisp will gate them off from walking towards the mid lane easily. Tarzan's here as well to try and help Weibo push through that mid.
The only thing for LNG is they don't have anyone who can rotate up the top wave.
Oh, Scout going in, the Paranoia as well. They dive onto Breed, who tries to jump to the safety of the tower, but he can't get there in time. The arrow going wide, Nature's Grass used as well by Tarzan. Xiahu coming in with a TP, and Zika was caught with a shockwave. Zika diving back forward, he's surviving for so long. In the end, the clockwork wind-up will take him out. Xiahu now in a 1v3, Light beginning to collapse. Hung his first target, Crisp there to join the Barney. Weiwei falling low. Xiahu can't quite get in range, needs another auto command attack. Was blocked with the Soul Shield. Blast cone out from Weiwei, but he goes the wrong way indeed. Xiahu takes the kill, Hung dies as well. Meanwhile, Scout is getting chased in by Crisp because it blows. Glacial Fissure used. Scout flashes, but the Winter's Bite is icy and cold and puts him in a coffin.
It's 4 kills for Weibo. The initial dive looked well executed from LNG. That's exactly what their comp wants to do. Catch you on a side lane, collapse quick before the enemy can respond. But Weibo do respond with lethal force.
Weibo counter, counter, counter. They had been pushing up on topside, and Xiahu's able to teleport there in with the Orianna and make the biggest difference. Let's take a look at it. Because the setup, they push the wave in topside, and then Nocturne ultimate goes off, but Xiahu got his teleport off just as the Nocturne ult is placed. So Xiahu arrives in time. It's just so critical there that he is able to help defend this. And this Orianna collecting 2 more kills, just getting richer and richer and richer in this. Weibo able to chase down the extra stragglers after the LNG play. You got to be so quick. When you're playing against a Nocturne,
it has to be almost instinctual. You have to be like, they can be collapsing here. Let me be in position to immediately TP in. Scout dies in the end to Crisp, as you say. 4 kills over to Weibo. 4 kills now on the Orianna as well. A 350 gold bounty on Xiaohu's head. It's a bounty that's been there through his many years in the LPL. And now a 1.5k lead for Weibo. They have strong top, strong mid, AD carry in a good spot as well. Gold leads in mid and in that bot lane role. Alongside Crisp, who, I'm always happy to see a support getting fed, getting paid. For LNG, the question becomes, how do you fight back? You can delay a little bit. You've already taken 1 Drake, so Soul Point, not too. It's quite a way away before you really have to battle over that.
Yeah, the problem for LNG is usually you're like, okay, well, if you're looking at this setup, then maybe they can make a pick, you know, with Nocturne Ultimate coming in and Kai'Sa flying in with Killer Instinct. But in a lot of the plays that LNG have tried to set up, Weibo's countered them. And then Weibo comes out with all these extra kills as they chase them down. So it really has been a tough ask on the side of LNG.
We saw in that lane economy Snapchat brought to you by MasterCard, a 1.2k gold lead for Xiahu in the mid lane. Has the Seraph's Embrace completely stacked up. There's an angel on his shoulder guarding him. He's being matched by Scout in the top side right now. Crisp sometimes goes on a little bit of an adventure around this point in the game when you're trying to set up for neutral objectives. It's a minute 30 on the next Drake. Maybe we'll see him stepping a little bit too far.
And crucially, Crisp flash backup. Every time we've seen him with it available, he has used it to set up a play for his team in this game. Often, you can criticize Crisp for his aggression. Sometimes he overstays, he gets caught, but this game, it is working to Weibo's benefit. 8-4 is the kill lead that they have. The Dragon spawning in about a minute's time. LNG with a similar situation to game 1 where they're getting that deep push on the bot side. Crisp needs to be careful here, a little isolated, but he has enough vision to walk his way to safety. And
safety, also known as the bush by the enemy red.
Yes, that too. He's a man that likes to play on the edge. But Weibo happy to just farm up in this situation, wait for those big fights. They have to be very respectful of the potential side lane collapse. You can see even with the lead that Xiahu has, knowing that he could out-trade Scout, he's not approaching. He's waiting for the wave to come to him, knowing that he can't afford that overstep with Dragon so close.
And they also want Tarzan to pick up one more camp. I think he's just finishing up that blue, just got his jungle pet upgraded, so now his smite does the same as Weiwei's if a 50-50 was to occur at the next Drake. They still have the Rift Herald in pocket as well, if Weibo wants to try and use that to develop some pressure towards the mid lane, but Hung, oh, that arrow went backwards. He's looking for the stop here. It looks like Scout is going to be able to dodge away from the arrow, but Hung is the one who's being caught. Crisp chasing in. There's the shockwave back. Hung gets a good unbreakable will off just in time. Tarzan going for the chase on Weiwei. He'll be feared back though. Hung trying to do everything he can to survive here. Does still have the flash, but in the end he will be sacrificed. Weibo find another.
An easy pick for Weibo as Hung chooses not to flash, knowing there's few places for him to go. Scout cross-mapping on the top side, but the Herald dropped as well. Weibo going to get a lot off a single pick.
Yeah, as you say, Light shot the arrow up towards Scout, and Scout just went right back to the tower, so they've made the call to go for the gold here. Meanwhile, Weibo are going to get so much more since they also have Rift Herald. They get multiple objectives.
Looking for another charge, perhaps to the tier 2 in the bot lane.
Tight little turn there.
That was very, very impressive there from Crisp. We'll give him his driver's license. You might wonder why sometimes you see players do this. If you can get the Rift Herald to charge in off synergy, you can actually deny some of the XP and gold from the enemy team. The TP behind here by LNG as Scout looks for the flank. The Rift Herald helping Weibo out, but more just dawdling through the river right now. LNG going to put their attention down towards Zika. It's jumped on down towards the bottom side. Light and Breathe able to take him out already. Weibo have got one. Scout still looking for that flank. The Drake secured by LNG, their second of the game. Exchanged for a kill in favor of Weibo, but LNG will be very happy that they stopped the soul from stacking up. The arrow, though, finds Weiwei's heart, and Chris follows up as well. Weiwei, the twisted advance enough to spell his demise as Weibo might turn their attentions towards the top side, but no Baron for a minute.
Oh, it's Light with the snipe to find the extra kill here. That was such a funny fight to watch, though, because it starts out with like a kaiju fight of Rift Herald versus Dragon in the pit. As they drive it into the pit, it starts aggroing on the Dragon, and then Weibo say, all right, we're going to go for the pick on the side here because Jax is alone. So we're going to go for kills, and LNG opt to burn down the Dragon instead and try and steal away the objective while you're killing off Zika. So they do get their kill, but the objective goes the way of LNG. They stop any sort of that Dragon stacking that Weibo would go for. It's just that here, once you blow your Nocturne spell shield, it opens up for Light, and he hits those.
The Ashe arrows have proven valuable for Weibo as they find another victorious fight. Crucially, though, LNG slowing down those Dragons means that they can buy themselves more time. They're not at risk of the soul going the way of Weibo anytime soon. The greater problem is the Baron spawning in 10 seconds.
And the greater problem is going to be, how do you ever win a full team fight versus Weibo? That is 6 kills on Xiahu now, on Orianna. Like, he is going to be massive. He's going to have a Leandries done very shortly here. Has the safety of a Seeker's Arm Guard, and Light...
Oh, it's fine.
Trade of ults. Xiahu forcing Scout's ulti.
Weibo just using that pressure to develop control around the Baron right now. As you say, this is where the next battle lines will be drawn, the next field of war. But LNG still only allowing superficial forays into their jungle. Hung and Weiwei doing a good enough job of making sure there aren't any deep wards in here right now. Scout with no ultimate has to play a little bit more cautiously towards the top side. Weiwei's here to shadow him as Tarzan begins to collapse. Crisp goes in, spell shield. There's the charm from Scout. TP coming in from LNG as well as they look to turn this fight around. The paranoia has been popped by Weiwei. Diving onto the backline, Killer Instinct, Light locked up. GALA dives in and they're looking for the damage onto Light. The unbreakable wall is not enough to stop GALA on his advance. Chris falling to LNG find 2.
The critical seconds there. Breathe was unable to teleport as the Nocturne ult went off, so he had to wait the whole thing. And LNG, they use those seconds. They jump on Weibo. They jump on Light. They get the kills onto the bottom line members, and now they're pressuring. They're threatening the Baron, trying to draw Weibo into the darkness.
Weibo see the Baron hasn't been started by LNG. They have the shockwave now on Xiahu.
Oh, sneaky, sneaky.
They don't know. They actually don't know.
They thought it wasn't being done. And now Tarzan's going to walk up, chuck a sapling in there and realize, oh my god, this is 6,000 HP. Xiahu has a TP. He'll try and join the fight. Breathe coming in from the top side as well, but the Baron has already been finished. Xiahu comes in. Hung's going to sacrifice himself to make sure his team secures the ultimate prize. The Baron taken by LNG.
Such a crucial punish on the side of LNG. It feels like that has been the story of this series. A team makes a play, how do you respond? And LNG responded flawlessly. Early use of the Nocturne ultimate to bring the TP in, force Weibo to split apart, and Light was left isolated. The dive comp came into fruition from LNG, and removing Light meant a one-team fight.
Zika wailing away on Tarzan, knocks him back with a Bramble Smash. Void Seeker coming in from GALA. Look at the damage onto Tarzan. The paranoia being used as well. Everybody's coming to get you as Tarzan begins to retreat. But the dive in is enough. Tarzan is going timber. And GALA's looking for more. Zika will take out Light. Crisp now left to his own devices. He's fried by LNG. Xiahu trying to escape, but there's another Spirit Rush. And Scout will be holding the charm like his life depends on it, because it almost might. Xiahu still finds him through the charm. Void Seeker going out as Xiahu is chunked down to 200 HP. Breathe about to go mega knocked over the wall by Hung. LNG will get the mid-tier 1, but not much more.
Another team fight win for LNG. This time, Weibo once again split apart. Breathe wasn't anywhere near the fight. He wasn't present to protect them from the collapsing flank. And Zika once again doing so much work on this Jax.
Oh, they are keeping it interesting here. LNG find them on the map once again, and this was Weibo trying to push back after the play. Zika here on the flank, locks up Tarzan, and gets so much damage done that they can follow through with yet another Nocturne ultimate. It only gets dicey as they further chase. You know, GALA always can follow up on these plays. Very easy for the Kai'Sa, right in there on the Killer Instinct. They collect the extra kills, but then they want more. Vedius, they're looking at Xiahu, and they're looking at this big bounty on his head. They want the Orianna, but they just can't get him. Breathe comes in, pulls out some heroics, helps out Xiahu, who remains unkilled on the Ori. And remains a big hope there for Weibo, but
Neither of these teams can just have a clean game, can they? The other team always has to pull out all the stops, and that's what makes Weibo versus LNG so exciting. We already said it before, every time these teams faced this year, it went all the way. Every time, back and forth. And in the best of fives, Weibo was getting the better of LNG up until the World's qualification, where LNG could shut them down.
And it all comes down to less than a second of reaction time. You know, it's these two different team fights went so differently based on the first one where Xiahu was able to react to the Nocturne ultimate and he squeezed it in there and immediately got his teleport in. And then the last one, Breathe got locked out and LNG were able to take advantage of that little timing, take down Light, take down Crisp, and then knock-on effect of grabbing all those extra kills on the map and chasing them down. Games at Worlds really do come down to these fractions of seconds and playing it nicely.
I mean, they really do. Your tournament life is on the line here as well. There is no regional qualifiers after this for you to re-qualify. Let's take a look at where we are. 1,000 goal between the two teams, 25 minutes into Drake's apiece. Recently, it's felt like LNG have the impetus. They have the ability to step forward, but sometimes That stepping can be a bit precarious. Hung almost caught there, is able to escape.
I think LNG fans will rejoice in seeing a lovely, lovely sight, and that is GALA on 3 items Kai'Sa. That is a very scary AD carry right now. So wow, you know, Xiahu is this pillar for Weibo this game with his 7 kills and his big bounty on his head. LNG are just looking to prey on him. Without the outer towers, he is very vulnerable. Orianna is always vulnerable in these side lanes, and so you see him having to wait. The little tiger here in the brush, waiting to collect minions.
That's his natural habitat though, Kobe. He's ready to strike. He's just waiting on enough gold to finish up that Zhonya's, and then he'll be able to step that little bit further forward. The threat, as you say though, of the Nocturne, of the Ahri, of the Kai'Sa just diving in on a side lane is ever looming.
See how well Weiwei rotates between the 2 sides, because wherever this Nocturne goes, that's where the big potential play for LNG is. He's the big gold holder, and he's the one with the big team fight changing ultimate.
Xiahu, he should be extremely close to completing the Zhonya's. A very important item for the
Does he get
fights.
it in the next minute, Betty?
He definitely should, yeah. You can see him recalling now. He caught the top wave, and that should have been enough gold for him to complete it. The reason why I mention it is because on Orianna, you've already talked about the low mobility. It's super important with this Jax and Nocturne and, well, literally everyone on LNG trying to dive on top of you. And crucially, you talked about Weiwei before. This Maokai feels very squishy. Like, that is not much of a front line that LNG have to get through. And with the amount of mobility, the Braum will be the greater problem. And Crisp's positioning is going to be crucial to provide that peel for his carries.
I think the one thing LNG do have to be a little bit careful for in looking for their next play is funneling a bit too much into these jungle corridors.
Yeah.
Because while you mentioned Tarzan may be pretty far behind on this Maokai and kind of squishy himself, the ultimate still fills up an entire jungle corridor. And Braum can still fill up this entire area. And so Weibo can try and use these big AoE ultis, this zone control, to try and funnel in and be able to get an advantage there. LNG, though, already control wards down on the Baron, trying to put the extra vision pressure and split push pressure onto Weibo. You see GALA there was actually hovering Zika for a while.
Ooh. Zika takes the tower in his face. 700 gold for him. There's that split push threat. Same build that he had last game. He bought so much time with that Zhonya's.
There's no arrow for light now, so maybe LNG will see a window where they can look for something. Weibo starts to step up towards the Baron, try and regain control of this area of the map. Zika going in onto Breed. He's a level down right now. Breed gets the Gnar back and forces Zika to just farm up those minions instead. Scout still looking for that flank. A little bit of vision for LNG. Just behind enemy lines here as Chris walks across it to get back towards the river. At some point, someone's got to deal with Zika. Breed is struggling in that side lane.
LNG slowly but surely gaining more and more control over the map.
Oh, it's
Zika.
Light. Zika jumps in and Light is here to react. Zika has to flash away.
That's the Baron though, that's the go for Baron. Light is stuck bot lane, and he can TP top.
Breed can TP as well. He's going to go back to base first, try and get back to full HP, but that Baron's already down to 5,000 HP. Nature's Grass coming out, Hung doing a wonderful job of keeping the tree a mile away. The Baron falls in the forest, and LNG damn well heard it. Weibo could get nowhere near, and instead they'll look for a Drake.
So they're going to go Drake, but LNG know this, and with Baron buff, they're actually pushing on top side right now. Are they going to keep Scout pushing all the way towards Inhibitor Tower? They do have a couple trailing members there, too. It looks like they will commit to that. Weibo destroy this dragon fairly quickly, though. I think they should be able to defend.
Ashe arrow.
Looking for Scout. Doesn't find Scout. He's rushes forward with the dive immediately onto Breed. The Gnar into the wall will buy him a second, but it's not enough time. Breed is down.
The double trailing play for LNG. It's GALA and Weiwei with the ultis to immediately answer. What a bait.
What a bait from LNG. Dodge from the Ashe arrow into a setup play. Zika, we've already seen him take these towers before. He's going to take another. LNG very quickly asserting their dominance here in game 3.
That was so sick. Scout was looking for it the entire time. They know exactly what your play is going to be. Dodges the Ashe arrow, and they punish immediately now with this Baron buff, taking down the inhibitor turrets quickly.
Inhibitor tower in the top lane already raised to the ground by Scout. Chris trying to respond, but there's no one there to help him out. Instead, they'll put their attentions toward this mid lane wave to clear it out.
Look at bot wave as well, Medic. You've got Zika catching another. The TP into the top lane. Scout never had a chance to base before, but now he has, and he returns with a death cap. Xiahu has to be so careful.
If you're Weibo, how do you even jump on a side lane here? Because Kai'Sa and Nocturne are always threatening these ultis between multiple lanes to join and defend. It is just so relentless, the pressure with the added Baron buff. Zika
has a stopwatch, he'll use it before Tarzan can get the full engage. Hung trying to come across as well with a Gnar into the wall was done. Zika, he's going to try and get the counter-strike off in time. First leap strikes away, the arrow going down as well. It's wide. Zika surviving for a hell of a long time while Sky pushes in the top side. In the end, Zika will fall even through the counter-strike. The Thunder Sky not going to be enough to keep him alive. Scout should be able to get an inhibitor for this and will do exactly that.
Exactly, it buys enough time to get the objective. The inhibitor taken, that's the price you pay for a single kill, Vedius.
They also get the flash out from Tarzan. Like, that's how difficult he is to kill, and it's not going to get any easier in the fights to come as well. We talked about how in the draft, both teams had options, but one of the things that Medic, you were concerned about was would Weibo have enough damage? They barely had enough damage to kill Zika. What about the rest of LNG? I feel like that this game is so difficult now for Weibo to turn around. And it all comes off the back of that single top lane dive. The way in which LNG was so quickly able to punish it, convert it into Baron, and the way they've played around Baron since then. Incredible stuff from them. And that fun fact from you, Medic, may end up ringing true once again.
2 series in the last 2 months, both times Weibo have lost game 3. LNG have come up the victors. The second one, obviously, in the regional, gone a little bit trickier for Weibo. They had just played the day before in the finals. But here, they are looking to try and even out the score. LNG knocking on the door of the Nexus. For them, it's redemption from last year. 0-3 against T1 in the quarterfinals. And Weiwei was on the other side of the rift then. Tarzan swapped positions with him, but for LNG, it's years of promise, really, as an organization that have never really come to fruition that now might start doing so if they can make it through to semis.
Such good side lane play from them, as they have done with Scout. Always loving those side lane resources, the trailing play here. And now it becomes so difficult for Weibo to even gain anywhere on the map to start their play from. You see LNG with GALA in mid lane, just throwing out these W's over and over and over. The poke is painful here from this Kai'Sa. So even a couple of wards for Weibo, difficult for them to get.
So crucially, Xiahu is about 300 gold off his death cap.
Okay. I think you wait for that amount of gold and let him buy it before you fight.
He's pinging top wave. He'd love to try and get it. You can see that that's what they're waiting for. It's such a massive item spike. And they're going to need it to stand a chance. Xiahu is so paranoid, though, of a potential Nocturne showing up. There's only the sapling on the top side. They need to spot out this Nocturne.
Charm wide from Scout. Tarzan.
And look, there's the ping onto the top wave. He's going to it quickly. He knows where Scout is now. He can try and get that gold.
There's so much darkness for Weibo if they do try and step in towards that Drake. It would be soul for them, only third for LNG.
Yeah, maybe they give this one up. Maybe it's not worth it.
Light and Crisp waiting to see if someone oversteps to catch the mid wave.
LNG want the kills. They're just itching to use these ultis.
Xiahu sitting in base. He must be incredibly close.
The death cap comes
there
through for
is.
Xiahu. Has the control ward as well. Zika chunked out to about 2/3 HP. The arrow going in. Just wide of Zika and Scout, who form a little conga line and avoid the arrow's embrace. Now Drake up 2 seconds.
That's a critical mistiming now for Weibo, because that was also Mega Gnar in addition to the Ashe arrow. Now Breathe is going to go mini, and this Dragon, are they going to try and steal it in some way? I mean, it just seems so hard now with no arrow and no Mega Gnar.
And no flash on Tarzan. There's no way for him to get into the pit. Baron up in 15 seconds time. You give up the ghost of this Drake. Take it to 7 if someone wants soul. Make sure you secure as many buffs, as much gold as you can before the inevitable fight around the big purple worm.
I mean, we are fully into the late game now. Everyone nearing full builds. This final fight is largely going to come down to execution, but the crucial advantage that LNG have is setup. The approach to the Baron is a difficult one for Weibo. They have no deep vision, no potential flank wards, and Zika maintains pressure on a side lane. Breathe cannot stop him, meaning that Weibo's running out of options very quickly.
Breathe goes into mini Gnar. Will be exhausted for a while before he can build up that rage bar again. LNG trying to gain control of mid in this topside jungle. Scout waiting in the wings to see if Xiahu overextends. Zika now moves into the darkness and can work his way up towards that mid lane instead of burning his teleport. He's going to base, but that deception, that darkness that he sits in makes it so difficult for Weibo to know if they can engage or not, because where's Zika? Is he flanking us? The arrow wide again. Light has not been on target with them. No bullseyes yet. It feels this game as LNG will back away.
It's difficult because that is really the most guaranteed attempt that they can make is just keep throwing out these Ashe arrows. Maokai ult is so slow moving. Breathe doesn't have extra time to come up and be the one to start it out and look for it. Even though he does have his flash ready, has to constantly attend to these side lanes because LNG will not relent in their side lane pressure, and so they keep getting the better setup. It's so tense, Betty.
Yeah, it's the few moments before the drop on a roller coaster, right? We all hold our breath and hope that we see one final calamitous 5v5.
Crucially, the Weibo have found access into the pit. The side lane pressure has disappeared for now. The Baron is started.
All they needed was access, apparently, Betty. They're going to start up the Baron as they're trying to pull out the TP from Zika, and there it goes. Weibo stick to the Baron. The arrow goes wide. It hits onto Zika. The Baron down to 2,000. Scout going in with the charm as well. The Baron's already secured by Weibo, and they dive in with the Twisted Advance. Scout on the backline down to half HP. Already GALA's dead. He dived in and he died for it. An incredible Gnar. Breathe catches LNG out of the air and slams them into the wall. Weibo win the fight, and you have to feel they can just march down mid.
A single fight was all they needed. 5-0. Weibo will wipe out LNG.
They've done it again. Weibo draw LNG into the Baron pit. They get the Baron, they get the team fight, and they're going to get the dub.
30 seconds from anyone for LNG to be back up, but I think all they're going to do is watch their Nexus fall in grayscale. Curses be damned. Game 3 curse, you say, Eddie? Apparently, Weibo just don't care. Weibo are one game away from semis.
Light with the timing on the arrow on that teleport. Whew. They burn the Baron, they kite back during the Nocturne ultimate. Xiahu survives with his flash, Light even survives, and Weibo move to match point in the quarterfinals.
An incredible fight from Weibo, an incredible game, and we've got more right after this break.
Red Bull gives you wings.